أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. مدد يا حضرة الإسلام. مدد يا مولانا. مدد يا شيخ ناصر الحقاني. مدد يا صاحب الزمان. الأمان الأمان يا حبيبنا يا حبيب سيدنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. شفاعتك يا رسول الله. محبتك يا رسول الله. عفوك ورضاك يا رسول الله. يا رب علينا الدعاء العارفين. علمنا يا رب. علمنا الذل من عندك. اللهم استعمل قلوبنا على طاعتك يا الله تبارك. This evening is very holy evening. This evening is a very holy evening because it is the Eid. It is the celebration in the one of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for Awliyaullah, completing the fasting season, which started by months of Ramadan. Well, Awliya started from months of Rajab, months of Sha'ban, but as obligatory months of Ramadan, and ended by today, by this Eve is ended, and for this it is a very holy night where all awliya ascending to the divine presence of Rasulullah in the one of Rasulullah, celebrating and give the congratulation for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for this holy Eve, for this Eid. And this Eid, for the sincere one, Allah make it that Allah will bless all of them by forever, as if they are fasting all the whole year, and every year they fast like this, 30 days plus 6 days, it will be a whole year as if they are fasting forever. Because if they die, Malaika will continue this on behalf of them, whom they are in sincerity with Allah Almighty and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Never their worshipping will be stopped, as Allah Almighty, His attributes always continuously going on, never stopping, never ending. The same, all whom they are related, whom they are divinely one, whom they are godly one, related to the divinely godly word of Allah Almighty and the divinely word of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are continuously, never ending. Neither their zikrullah or khatmul khajatan or salat wa salam of Rasulullah or their fasting or their praying, because Allah Almighty, from their breathing during the practicing of zikrullah or khatmul khajatan, Allah creating malaika to continue what they started it. They took with them, for example, 45 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, and they finished. But in the divine presence of Allah Almighty, not finished. It will be continuously going on till forever. And so in the day of judgment, they will see all their books is full with good deeds and worshipping and zikrullah and salat wa salam on Rasulullah, which they, oh Allah, we didn't do like this in this past life. We didn't, only a little bit short zikr, a little bit of zikrullah, 10 times, 20 times, salawat al-sharifa, and busying ourselves by your names, 99 names, making zikr of them. But it was only half an hour, 45 minutes, we were busy like this. They will see that it is full, as if it is continuously going on. After they finish their meeting, these malaik whom Allah Almighty creating from them, from their breathing or breathing, Allah will make them to continue forever this zikr, and will be written the zikr of the malaika, the worshipping of the malaika, the fasting of the malaika, the practicing of the malaika, according to what written on Lawh al-Mahfuz, and by what they make covenant and promises Allah Almighty in the day of promises and covenant, alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala, and all written on the book of the one of us. And he will be so surprised that he will see his balance is full with good deeds, while his past life was full for himself. He used to know that he was a sinner one, committing mistakes, sins, badly behaving with Allah Almighty and Rasulullah. Only used to come for half an hour, 45 minutes to sit as passing by, sitting like this and finishing, going, then entering into his satanic world and doing badness again. But Allah Almighty making from his breathing malaika creating to continue this practicing and worshipping forever, and will be written for him on his books. And Allah Almighty making the one who fast months of Ramadan and 6th day of Shawwal forever to be fasting, because then malaika will be continuing for him the fasting as if all the years of his life, and even he died as if he's still alive till the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, when he will, day of judgment, when Allah will survive him again, and he will see that he is written for him as if he fasting all these years. Like this, Allah Almighty rewarding the nation of Rasulullah for the sake, not for our sake, not for the sake of us, but for the sake of his beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For the sake of Rasulullah, Allah is appreciating his ummah and upgraded it to be the best nation, because Rasulullah, he is the best creation to Allah Almighty and beloved to Allah Almighty. And for this, even Allah Almighty giving him a disobeying ummah, a sinner's ummah, but Allah saying, I am for the sake of my beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the most forgivable one for them. They are not tired from committing sins and badness and disobeying me and obeying shaitan, and I am not tired from giving them goodness and good tidings and rewarding and blessing according how much Rasulullah, his beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ascending from the eternal forever, second by second in the divine presence of Allah Almighty. He is reflecting on his nation these lights which Allah addressing to him. And this light will be erasing all waste and sins, will be erasing all kind of badness, and Allah will change it to goodness for the sake of Rasulullah and for the shafa'ah of Rasulullah, because he makes shafa'ah for his nation, and he's saying shafa'ati li ahli al-kaba'ir min ummati, my shafa'ah, my intercession for these ones whom they are committing the biggest sins, whom they are always sinners. Never, if they enter 1 minute in the way of summa amanu as a believer and obeying Allah Almighty, quickly shaitan will trap them and bring them to be in the way of kufr as an unbeliever by disobeying Allah Almighty. They enjoy to disobey Allah Almighty. They enjoy to obey shaitan. They enjoy to follow their desires, and they are going to lead them to be far away from Allah Almighty. While the one whom always following the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, following the way which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam show it to his Sahaba and make Sahaba imams of this way, and then all awliya after the Sahaba till day of judgment, the one who follows them, then he will be enjoying obeying Allah Almighty and the goodness and pleasing Allah Almighty. Allah will make for him this life paradise, his great paradise, and day of judgment no questioning, but Allah will be inviting him to Darus Salam, to his divine presence, and he will be entering by the shafa'ah, intercession of Rasulullah, to the paradises of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and neighborhood to Allah Almighty and his beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like this, Allah Almighty treating this nation whom they every time complaining and they have problem. Why they are complaining and they have problem? Because all of them they disobey Allah Almighty and obeying shaitan. They are trapped by shaitan. They are full with enmity to each other, jealous from each other. They are enemy to each other. They are all the time, they want to attack each other, backbiting, ghiba, namima, buhtan, all kind of which Allah said don't do it, they are doing. Allah said don't spy on anyone, don't interfere in anyone, interfere in yourself. Make yourself to be in the right way and don't care for the other. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم. If you well guided and Hidayah sent to you and you are making yourself to be in the way of obeying Allah Almighty and the right way, then continue this way to reach to your goal. إلهي أنت مقصودي ورضاك مطلوبي, to reach to Allah Almighty and to be dressed by pleasing Allah Almighty, and Allah will be satisfied from you and loving you. And Allah say, if I love anyone, I will dress him from my eyes to his eyes, from my ears to his ears, from my tongue to his tongue, from my hand to his hand, from my feet to his feet. I will dress him by the divinely godly attributes of Allah Almighty, and He will decorate him by the almighty names of Allah Almighty, and the greatest name will be crowned to him. Will be crowned on his head, on his heart, and then this one, Allah will make him to be a godly one, a divinely one, a Rabbani. If he say to something be, it will be. Like this, Allah Almighty promising the one whom obeying him and disobeying shaitan. And for this, Allah saying in the Holy Hadith, عبدي أطعني أجعلك ربانيا إذا قلت للشيء كن فيكون. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he say a hadith on behalf of Allah Almighty, Allah saying it, this hadith Qudsi, "O my servant, obey me, I will make you a godly one. If you say to something be, it will be." And for this, the one who obey Allah Almighty, no way to be under burdens or complaining or feeling any badness or anything which is making him to be stressed and depressed and complicated, and his chest will be clean. His chest and his heart will be clean from the war going inside, from the fighting inside of every one of us, where every one of us, the soul, fighting with the nafs, with the ego, and the ego and the nafs fighting with the soul. And for this you will not feel happiness at all. All the time you are under depression. Why? Because this fighting going on in you. The soul want to take you to the side of Allah Almighty, and your nafs want to take you to the side of shaitan. And like that they are fighting inside you, until you are either to be totally destroyed, or you will be in the side of the soul, a winning one, that you will reach to the divine presence of Allah Almighty and Rasulullah. And if you were a loser, that the nafs, or your ego, yourself, your nafs, the bad self, the ego of the one, the bad self of the one, will be trapping him and taking him to her whom she worship, who is the shaitan, and the shaitan trap him, then this one will be a loser, and all curses from Allah Almighty will come over him. All curses from all malaika will come over him. All curses from all the prophets and the human being and mankind will come over him. Like this Allah Almighty saying in the Holy Quran. And for this be careful, be aware always. Nothing will be saving you except to be with a good friend, who will be pulling you to the side of Allah Almighty. And for this, the oppressor, when he is dying, death coming to him in his last breathing, what he will say, Allah Almighty saying in the Holy Quran, the one who is oppressor, the one who is zalim, he will be biting his finger. He will be not only just biting, Allah say biting, but eating his finger, biting his finger. Why? Because يَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ, he'll be biting on his hands. And he will say, يوم يعض الظالم على يقول يا ليتني اتخذت مع الرسول سبيلا. If I, in the past life of me, in that life which I lived before death to come to me, if I was in the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, much more better to me, taking this or that a friend to me, whom they trap me to shaitan and make me to miss dhikrullah azza wa jal. يا ليتني اتخذت مع الرسول سبيلا يا ليتني لم أتخذ فلانا خليلا لقد أضلني عن الذكر. Because they make you to be forgetting Allah Almighty, these friends, these people, they will make you to be trapped by shaitan, disobeying Allah Almighty and obeying shaitan, missing dhikrullah azza wa jal, forgetting Allah Almighty, and then you come to complain that you have a problem. Of course you have a problem. The one who is a loser is not going to be full with the problems, difficulties, no rizqi, no barakah, no good tidings, no rewarding from Allah Almighty, no mercies, no forgiveness. Only he is under the curse of Allah Almighty and shaitan happy with him. Then the one who is disconnected from heavenly stations, from heavenly godly world, what do you think is going to happen to him? Happen to him as you switch off the bottom of light, what will be the room? No. Totally dark. And for this Allah Almighty saying, Allahu waliyul ladina aman yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. Allah Almighty is the sponsoring, is the one whom behind and taking care for the believer, for the mu'min, to take them from the darkness to the light, to switch on the light in their heart and in their chest, that they be lightened by the lights of Allah Almighty. No more darkness of shaitan, no more can shaitan switch off this light of Allah Almighty, because shaitan is so weak. Allah saying, Inna kayda shaitani kana da'ifa. The shaitan, Allah, he is a created thing. And for this Allah make him so weak. If anyone is not accepting his invitation, he cannot do for him anything except he's inviting everyone. The one who will refuse his invitation, then Allah Almighty will be sponsoring him and taking care for him to take him from the darkness of his nafs, satanic world, to the light of Allah Almighty, light of Rasulullah, light of Ahlul Bayt al-Nabi, light of Awliyaullah Azza wa Jal, and he will be lightened by the lights of Allah Almighty, and he will be a divinely lights of Allah Almighty represented in that person. And the one who is following the tawaghit, Allah waliyyu alladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur walladhina kafaru awliya'uhum at-taghut. The non-believer, the one whom taking care for them, which means the ones whom disobeying Allah Almighty and enjoying to obey shaitan and their nafs and their desires and their ego and their satanic word in themselves and their qareen in themselves. Allah Almighty, what is saying? These ones, they are worshipping these tawaghit, these gods for them, taking these enemy of Allah Almighty to be the gods for them and worshipping them. And for this, these gods whom they are worshipping, instead to worship Allah Almighty, these gods will take them from the light to darkness. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ يُخْرِجُونَهُم مِّنَ النُّورِ إِلَى الظُّلُمَاتِ. While the non-believer, which means everyone committing a sin, even one sin, you are a non-believer. Finish. Until you repent to Allah Almighty, then you are summa amanu, then you are a believer. And for this Allah Almighty saying, some of the nation of Rasulullah, they are in the way, summa amanu, summa kafar, summa amanu, summa kafar, summa amanu, summa kafar. Sometimes they will be believer by worshipping, by praying, by practicing zikr. Then quickly they will be changing to be following their and enjoying their desires and shaitan and this life and all this decorated life. Then they will be disobeying Allah Almighty and they will be kafir, non-believer. And then they repent to Allah Almighty by praying another time, by saying astaghfirullah, then they will be in the way of summa amanu as a believer. And like this we pass our life by sometimes believers, sometimes non-believers. If the death coming to us and we are in the way of believers, summa amanu, which we mean practicing or worshipping Allah Almighty, and the death come over us, then Allah will erase all these badness and sins and never questioning anyone about them, and He will upgrade him to have all the maqams and lights and goodness of all the prophets, sealed of prophet, and divine rewards from Allah Almighty and good tidings to the highest maqam. Allah will ascend him. And if the death catch you and you are committing a sin in the bad way, in the way of shaitan, even you used to worship all your life, then you commit one sin and the death come catch you in this sin, then Allah will erase all your worshipping as if was not existing, and He will give you all punishment and all valleys of Jahannam, of hell, to the darkest valley, because Allah saying the hypocrite, they are in the lowest valleys, parts of hell they will be, because you used to be in the way of Allah Almighty and you commit a sin and they just catch you in this sin. And for this, Sayyidina Hasan al-Basri, Imam, one of the Imams of Sufi ways, and he is Ahlul Bayt al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, big Imam he was, and a reformer also. He said, "Oh my murids, my sons, be careful. The death, like the dog in a total night, dark night, no light at all. This dog is not a domestic one, but is a wild one. You don't know when he will come and bite you and catch you. Like this the death, you don't know when will be catching you. If you are in the darkened side of your life, in sins, in badness, disobeying Allah Almighty, finish, you are going to take whatever Allah promised in the Holy Quran of valleys of hell and Jahannam, and in the lowest part of Jahannam, because you will be a hypocrite. And if the death catch you in obeying Allah Almighty, worshipping, practicing, connecting yourself with Allah Almighty, not forgetting Allah Almighty, then Allah will forgive all whatever you did from bad deeds, will not look at it, and He will erase it from your books. No questioning Yawm al-Qiyamah, and will be ascending you to the highest neighborhood to Allah Almighty and Rasulullah. For this, be careful that the one who will be disobeying Allah Almighty is in darkness, and the one who is obeying Allah Almighty is always in light and prosperity and happiness. Don't complain. Try to fix yourself. Try to repent to Allah Almighty. Try to be good ones with Allah Almighty, then Allah will be good with you. If you will be bad with Allah Almighty, then and forgetting Allah Almighty, then Allah will reward you by badness and forgetting. Then blame yourself. Don't complain. ومن الله التوفيق. الله 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 عزيز الله 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 Allah, 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 Subhanallah, Allah, 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 Sultan Allah, Sultan Allah Almighty, and we are your weakest servant. Forgive us, we repent to you. We are sinners, we confess, we are the bad ones. Make us to be good ones, Ya Rabbana, Ya Allah. Forgive us, mercy us, Ya Rabbana, Ya Allah. Make us in the right way, in the light. Take us from the darkness of ourselves and put us in the light of God, the light. In the divinely God, the light of yours, blessing and good tidings and holy essence and the lights of beloved Muhammadun Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And awliya Allah, lighten our hearts by your divine lights. Lighten our hearts by the light of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Lighten our hearts by the lights of awliya Allah. Dress us by love to you, love to Rasulullah, love to awliya Allah. And make us to each time of Sahib al-Zaman, Sayyidina al-Mahdi alayhi salam, and to be sincere lovers, followers to him, Ya Rabbana, Ya Allah. When the one love Allah Almighty, love Rasulullah, he will do the best to please them. But when there is no love for Allah Almighty, for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, for Ahli Bayt al-Nabi, for Sahaba, for Awliya Allah, he will never do anything to please them, but he will please whom he loves. Whom you love, then you will be loving shaitan, yourself, or women, or desires, and you will be after them, taking you to darkness, to hell, and a loser you will be in this life. May Allah forgive us and make us always inside of Allah Almighty, connected with Allah Almighty, with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, with Awliyaullah, with Ahlul Bayt al-Nabi, never forgetting Rasulullah. How to not to forget Rasulullah? Busy yourself by salat wa salam on Rasulullah. Always give salat wa salam on Rasulullah. Always remember Rasulullah by giving him salat wa salam. This make Rasulullah to give you salat wa salam, to pray on you. One prayer from Rasulullah on you, it will be enough for you to save you in the day of judgment from Jahannam, from hell. May Allah mercy us. إلى شرف النبي سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله وصحبه. درس شعب الله الدرسين نظم الحقاني الأستاذ الثاني والدين ده إن شاء الله نقشنا عن البخاري وجده. سيدنا أبو بكر الصديق وعثمان علي فاطمة الزهراء سيدنا حسن والحسن أهل بيت النبي صحابة رسول الله مشايخنا الطريقة النقشبندية العلية وأولياء الله عز وجل عامة أجمعين وأهل ديوان رسول الله وصاحب وزان سيدنا محمد المزوار سيدنا أويس القرني والصديقيون لله تعالى الفاتحة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
الموضوع يعني مرض